Hey, thanks for joining me. I'm Andrew Axum with Axum Outdoor Adventures, Axeman on the Slingshot Forum, and today we're going to do a little experimenting with tapers versus straight bands. So recently I've been doing a little studying because I had some curiosity myself about tapers and which one's best for which ammo and different bands and thicknesses. And I've done quite a bit of experimenting myself in the past with that. But I realized one thing I've never done is actually tested straight bands through the Crony and compared to some tapered bands. I've shot them, but I've just never actually put them through the test. So what I've done today is I've created 3 bands out of Sniper Sling Yellow .5, and these are all cut to a 5.5 inch active band length. And I made a straight band here that is cut at a 20 to 20 taper. I also made a tapered band that is at a 20 to 15 taper. And then finally, I have a tapered band at a 20 to 10 taper. So a little bit more of a drastic taper on that one. So we'll take these out into the backyard in just a minute and test them all out, see how they compare to each other. So lately I've been doing some research on band tapers and which ones are more suited for different ammos, and I have come across some interesting stuff, a lot of it on the Slingshot Forum. And if you don't use Slingshot Forum, it's a great resource to learn about anything related to slingshots. A lot of knowledgeable folks on there, and the threads go back for years, so I really like it. But been reading some of the older threads specifically about band tapers and straight bands, and I came up with a list of some of the pros for shooting with a tapered band. And one is a lighter draw weight, and that helps with your accuracy. If you're shaking a lot more, you're not going to be as accurate. And for somebody like me, I've had some shoulder problems in both my shoulders, so it's a little more comfortable to pull something with a lighter draw weight. The next thing I have in the pro column for tapers is it has a predictable breaking point. Typically in a tapered band, you're going to break down closer to the pouch end, the thinner end, and that predictable breaking point kind of gives you a heads up about where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, because every band eventually breaks. And I also put down faster projectile speeds. I mean, I think that's the one that most people already know. Using a tapered band will sometimes give you a faster speed, but not always. So in the con column for tapers, they are harder to cut than straight bands, and they have a shorter life than your straight bands. So I made a similar list of pros and cons for a straight band, and it's kind of just inverse in some ways to the tapered band. Straight bands are easier to cut than tapered bands. They have a longer band life. And the final thing I put in the pro column for straight bands is sometimes they're just enough power depending on the kind of ammo you're shooting. I know I shoot a lot of BBs, and sometimes I do use straight bands with my BBs. I don't currently shoot any 1/4 inch ammo, but I've read about some guys using straight bands on 1/4 inch. Some of the smaller ammo, basically, I've heard about some people using straight bands with 8mm. I typically use tapered bands most of the time. Sometimes with BBs, I will use a straight band, but not often. So in the con column for straight bands, I have a heavier draw weight, and that just kind of makes sense. If your tapered bands give you a lighter draw weight, then not tapering it is going to make it a little heavier. They have an unpredictable breaking point, unlike the tapered bands where it's typically going to break down at the thinner end. And sometimes they don't have as much power, but as we touched on, they often do have the right amount when you're using smaller ammo. I also found something interesting at slingshotchannel.com. It is a TheraBand Gold calculator. You plug some numbers in and it gives you suggested tapers. And I don't know how well it would translate to non-TheraBand Gold latex, but something to check out if you're interested in it. So I think it's time to head out in the backyard and test these bands out. So we will head out there, check the draw weight, check the speeds through the Crony, see how they compare. All right, we're out in the backyard, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the straight band first. So this is Sniper Sling Yellow .5 cut straight at a 20-20 cut. We'll go ahead and check the draw weight first. So that comes in at a 5.4 pounds. All right, I'm going to go ahead and fire 5 shots with 8mm and the straight 20-20 cut. 204.3, 220, 202, 192.2, 202.7. Okay, so it looked like the straight band shot right between the 200 to 220 range. Next, we're going to try the 20x15 taper. So I'll go ahead and check the draw weight on that. That comes in at a 4.07. So about a pound, almost a pound and a half different. All right, I'll go ahead and take 5 shots with the 20x15 taper. 225.3. Gotta go put my can up. 225.0. 222.3. Gotta put my can up again. 226.9. 222.3. Okay, so I feel like the band that was tapered at a 20-15 taper was a marked improvement, at least in terms of speeds, over the straight cut of 20-20. We'll go ahead now and try the 20-10 taper and see what that does. We'll start by checking the draw weight on that. Okay, that comes in at a 3.92, so a little bit lower than the 20-15 taper. Same neighborhood. All right, we'll take 5 shots with the 20-10 taper. 227.9, 228.6, 230.5, 229.9, 224.6. All right, well, that gave us some interesting data to look at. And so we'll start with the straight band. The 20x20 cut had a draw weight of 5.4 pounds. When we compare that to the 20x15 taper, that had a draw weight of 4.07 pounds. So almost a pound and a half lighter on the 20x15. And then when we compare that to the 20x10, the draw weight dropped again, this time down to 3.92. So what we can see is, as the taper becomes more dramatic, the draw weight seems to go down. But then when we look over at the speeds, the 20x20 band, the straight cut, had an average speed of 204.2. Compare that to the 20x15, the average speed jumps up to 224.3. And then when we go to the 20x10 taper, the average speed jumps up to 228.5. So what we see is, as the draw weight goes down by creating a more dramatic taper, the speeds tend to go up. Now, earlier in the video, I had made a comment, something to the effect of that tapered bands don't always give you faster speeds. That's not exactly true. They do tend to give you faster speeds, but if the taper is not appropriately matched to the type of ammo you're using, the extra speed doesn't do you any good. All right, well, that's pretty much going to be it this time for Axum Outdoor Adventures. I had a good time getting outside, shooting some slingshots, collecting some data, and just doing some experimentation with some tapers. I encourage you to do the same thing. Get out there, have some fun shooting, experiment, see what works best for you. Hey, if you enjoy these videos, don't forget to go down, hit the subscribe button. Also, remember to give us a like, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you can get alerts anytime we put out new content. Thanks for watching.